Assalamu alaikum dear students. In this lecture we will study about the direct and indirect object and the complement or the adjunct. So we were studying about the syntax. So this is another aspect of syntax to study that what is the direct, what is the indirect object, and what is complement and what is adjunct. So let's see the lecture outline. So we will study that what is the basic sentence structure of English language according to the English syntax. What is object, what is direct and indirect object, and what is complement and what is adjunct. So let's begin towards the lecture. So in English language, the sentence structure according to the English syntax is, so what we have studied previously, that we have to follow certain rules in every language according to their particular rules. So in English language, what we have a syntax. We have English syntax which gives us certain rules how to make sentences out of the parts of speech, that we have many words, noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and how we combine these all words to make a sentence. This is actually we know by the English syntax. So what is the rule of the English syntax? The basic sentence structure is subject, verb, object, or instead of object, it's not like we always have object. We may have the complement or we may have the adjunct. So we will study that how we identify the object, complement and adjunct in a sentence. So basically object has two types, direct and indirect object. So you all know what is a subject and what is a verb. Subject is the doer of the action, or maybe the one about which the sentence is about. The focus of the sentence is the subject or maybe the doer of the action. And verb is the action. What action is taking place is known as verb. Then see what the object is. An object in grammar is a part of a sentence and often part of the predicate. It refers to someone or something involved in the subject's performance of the verb. It is what the verb is being done to. As an example, the following sentence is given. So it's like we have studied, maybe we say subject, verb, object, or maybe we can say subject and predicate. In predicate, what we have the verb and the object to complete the sentence. So the sentence is Leila wrote the poem. So Leila is the subject. The action taking place is of writing, that is wrote. And what is the action done? What verb is being done to? The poem. So the poem is the object, Leila is the doer of the action, and action is writing something, wrote, and then object is the poem. So Leila is the subject, the doer or performer. Wrote is a verb that refers to the action. The poem is the object involved in the action. So this is how we generally identify the object. So we have two types of objects, the direct and indirect. The direct object answers who, whom, or what after an action verb. It receives the action of the verb or shows the result of the action. An action verb with a direct object is called the transitive verb. So we have the different types of verb. The main two types are transitive and intransitive verb. Transitive verb means that requires the object, and intransitive verbs do not require the object to complete the sentence. Like drink, drinking is an action. So he drinks what? There's a question mark. He drinks what? Okay. Okay. So he drinks what? He drinks water. So the action verb, transitive verb drink, requires the object to complete the sentence. It requires a direct object of the verb, that is drinks water. Okay. Maybe the intransitive verb is like the baby sleeps. Here we do not require a direct object to complete the action. There are two types of objects, direct and indirect objects. Direct object answers the question what or whom. Examples: David repaired his car. Now David repaired, the action is of repairing. David is the subject, and what is being repaired? His car. So his car is the direct object of the verb repaired. What did David repair? David repaired his car. So his car is the direct object. He invited Mary to the party. So Mary is the direct object of the verb invited. So you can ask from yourself, who invited? He invited whom to the party? The answer is Mary. So Mary is the direct object of the verb invited. Then comes indirect object. It answers the question to whom, for whom, and for what. An indirect object is the recipient of the direct object and otherwise affected participant in the event. There must be a direct object for an indirect object to be placed in the sentence. In other words, an indirect object cannot exist without the direct object. So the direct object is the receiver of the action directly from the verb. An indirect object is the receiver of the direct object. Like in a sentence, if there is no direct object, there cannot be an indirect object. We cannot say that a sentence consists of only an indirect object without a direct object. Direct object is compulsory. The indirect object may present or maybe not, but indirect object may present or maybe not, but direct object is compulsory. If there is no direct object, there will be no indirect object. Let's take an example. They sent him a postcard. So they sent him. The action is of sending. So they sent to whom? Answer is him. So him is the intellect of the verb sent. To whom they send a postcard? They send a postcard. To whom? They send a postcard to whom? He bought his son a bike. His son is the indirect object of the verb bought. So he bought his son a bike. Okay. His son is the indirect object of the verb bought. How? So you can answer yourself. He bought a bike for whom? For whom did he buy a bike? For his son. So his son is the indirect object of the verb bought. Example is, I kicked Sally the soccer ball. First, determine if the sentence has a direct object. First you have to answer, is it an action verb? Yes, the word kicked is the action verb. Okay. Then, okay, we have the action verb. Then who or what is kicked? The soccer ball was kicked. Therefore, the soccer ball is the direct object. I kicked Sally the soccer ball. So, if there is a direct object, then ask to whom, to what, for whom, or for what was the action done. first you have to identify, when identifying the direct or indirect object, first you have to see if there is an action verb. If there is an action verb, then there must be the direct object. Then after identifying the direct object, then again identify if there is any question to ask, like to whom, to what, for whom, or for what. Action done. I kicked Sally the soccer ball. So to whom was the soccer ball kicked? The soccer ball was kicked to Sally. So the answer is Sally. Therefore Sally is the indirect object. I kicked Sally the soccer ball. I kicked the soccer ball. The action verb is of kicking something, kicked. Direct object is what is being hit, the soccer ball. Then to whom? To Sally. So I is the subject, kicked is the verb, action verb, Sally is the indirect object, and the soccer ball is the direct object. So see what is the difference between the direct object and the indirect object. But you have to keep in mind this thing, that if there is action verb, then only then there is a direct object, and if there is a direct object in a sentence, then only then there is the indirect object. If there is no indirect object in the sentence, there would be no if there is no direct object in the sentence, there would be no indirect object in the sentence. Then comes, after, we can also use the complement instead of the object. So complement is the element that gives a specific meaning to a sentence. When it is removed, the sentence will lose its meaning. Usually one cannot write or speak or complete sentence without a complement in it. It does not comes after the action verb. Like after action verb, what comes? The object. And after the action verb, if there is no action verb, what comes? The complement. So there is a difference. Like after action verb, there comes the object, and after non-action verb, there comes the complement. So let's take an example. For example, I love Pakistan. Love, doing love is not an action, it's a state that is in our mind. So loving someone is not an action, it's a state. So we can say it's a stative verb. So I love Pakistan, since there is no action verb, so we can say there is no object in the sentence. So what we studied, that when we do not have the object or we do not have the action verb in a sentence, what we have after the verb, we have complement. So Pakistan here is a complement. I am a teacher. So am is not, although it's a helping verb, but here it's acting as a main verb, but still it's not a action, it's not an action verb. So it's since if it's not an action verb, there should be no object. So if there is no object, we can say that a teacher is the complement. John is a carpenter. So carpenter is the complement that completes the sentence, but it's not the object on which action is being done. Imran Khan is the prime minister. Okay, so Imran is the prime minister. Prime minister is the complement. She is lazy. I am beautiful. So lazy, beautiful, prime minister, carpenter, teacher, Pakistan, these all are complement. These are all not object because there is no action verb in it. When we do not have the action verb, we have complement instead of the object. Then comes adjunct. An adjunct is a part of a sentence that constitutes a word or set of words that can give extra information on the functionaries of a sentence. For example, in the sentence, I kept a copy of the document on my shelf. I kept a copy of the document on my shelf. The phrase on my shelf adds extra meaning to the sentence. It tells where, and that is an adjunct. In this sentence, I completely forgot about her arrival. The word completely is an adjunct. When the adjunct is removed from the sentence, it can still convey the meaning. It only affects the magnitude or strength of the action. Like, it only supports the information, supports the action, but it is not like without the adjunct we cannot complete the sentence. Instead of writing like I kept a copy of the document on my shelf, I can only say I kept a copy of the document. So on my shelf is giving extra information. I may say I forgot about her arrival. The word completely is conveying that it's an adjunct. It's not the object, it's not the complement, it's the adjunct. Without an adjunct, sentences can be a little dry and sometimes unable to convey answers to questions like how, where, and why. An adjunct can be detached from a sentence without making the sentence wrong or grammatically imprecise. An adjunct is not essential for sentence construction. Most adjuncts are adverbs using to assist the description of a verb. An adjunct can describe the place, time, reason, manner, or frequency. So, difference between a complement and an adjunct. Adjunct is not an essential part of the sentence, whereas a complement is an essential part of a sentence. So we may write adjunct or we may not, but complement is essential, compulsory. Adjuncts are not needed in the sentence to give it meaning, but without a complement, the sentence will not convey proper meaning. A complement is essential for sentence completion, whereas adjunct is not necessary for the completion of a sentence. Complements are structurally indispensable in a sentence, whereas adjuncts are structurally dispensable in a sentence. So these are some differences between the complement or adjunct. So this is all about today's lecture. These are some references. You can take guide from these references as well. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.